Okay, you fans of popular culture of the 20th century, especially you lovers of the 20th century music, where I'm at on this nondescript street, this gritty urban industrial environment, I'm gonna take you fans to one of the most famous recording studios of all time, where they recorded at this studio the most famous albums that are all burned in our subconscious minds. Okay, this place that I'm gonna take you to is called Sound City Studios on Cabrito Road here, and it was founded in 1969 by one guy named Joe Gottfried and Tom Skier, and they closed finally in 2011, and somebody bought it and now they just use it for their personal use. And this place, when they opened it up, they bought some of the most advanced audio gear built by a British company called Nuys, and they installed the fabled Nuys 8028 analog recording console. Anyway, one of the first albums that was made here was Neil Young's After the Gold Rush. If you remember that Only Love Can Break Your Heart song, fantastic song. And then Delaney and Bonnie Bramlett. Fleetwood Mac did one track here from Rumors, Never Going Back Again, 1977. Evel Knievel recorded here in 1974. Elton John did Caribou, The Bitch Is Back. War, 1975. Why Can't We Be Friends? If you remember that summer, that's all you heard for every 5 seconds. I never forget, Why Can't We Be Friends? Okay, this studio, here we come to it. It's at 15456 Cabrito Road, and it's got, if you're a drummer, this place, of all the studios in LA, if not the world, it's got the most perfect acoustics or drums. They don't know why. And a lot of the drummers, the greatest drummers of all the groups of the 20th century, they always wanted to record here because their drums were just perfect. It didn't matter how you set them up, they come up perfect. And Dave Grohl, when this place went broke, he was the drummer from Nirvana. He bought that Nuys console, the recording console, and he also did a documentary. And okay, this place, it's infamous for one certain reason. This is where Manson recorded his demos on August 9th, 1968, for what later would come out in 1970 on his Lie album. And this is where he brought the family that summer. And I'm gonna give you guys a factoid out there. It's kind of odd, but exactly 1 year later, on August 9th, the Tate murders happened. So that's kind of like a weird coincidence. It's very strange. Let me give you a rundown of the songs that he recorded here. Cease to Exist. And then, of course, Dennis Wilson took that song and he turned it into Never Learn Not to Love, and it came on the 2020 album in 1969. And he changed the lyrics, and he changed the music from kind of like a bluesy sound. And they said that he was getting death threats from 1968 to 69 because the deal was, verbally of course, that he could change the melody, but he couldn't change the lyrics, but he did it anyway. And they were so in need of a song that at that time Brian Wilson was already obese. He wasn't getting out of bed, so they were grabbing for whatever they could get. And when he was hanging out, Dennis Wilson, with Charlie, him and his friend and Terry Malker and one of his friends, Greg Jacobson, he was a producer, talent scout. He paid for the recordings there that Charlie did. And let me give you a couple of songs that he did here that came out later on in 1970 in the Love and Terror Cult album. He did Look at Your Game Girl, Eyes of a Dreamer, People Say I'm No Good, Don't Do Anything Illegal. Anyway, another factoid, Greg Jacobson, the guy that helped him out, he was married to Lou Costello's daughter, Carol. So that's just like a little factoid there. And let me give you another rundown of the famous albums that were done here, this famous studio. Like I said, Fleetwood Mac album 1975, and then the one they did in 1977, Rumors, Cheap Trick, Heaven Tonight, 1978. Foreigner, Double Vision, 1970. I'll never forget that song. They played over and over and over and over, and they still play it. Double Vision. Damn the Torpedoes, Don't Do Me Like That, 1979. Another song they just played over and over. Don't Do Me Like That, Don't Do Me Like That. And then of course 1980, Pat Benatar, Hit Me With Your Best Shot, from Crimes of Passion. And one of the greatest albums of all time was done here, called Nevermind by Nirvana in 1991. It's considered number 17 on the list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. Rage Against the Machine, 1992. Red Hot Chili Peppers, One Hot Minute, 1995. Johnny Cash, Unchained, 1996. 9 Inch Nails with Teeth, 2005. Just amazing, the talent that was once gracing these walls. Okay, I want to give you another little factoid. I guess these were the offices right here in 1966 when Columbia signed the Fledgling Doors in November of 1966. And they were signed up for a 6-month commitment until they could get a producer to record them. Well, it never panned out, and they didn't get any money up front. But in 1966, this was the Vox production facilities of the British, the company Vox that made the British Empire's instruments. That was real popular with the Beatles. They would use the Super Beatles, the 6-foot Super Beatle speakers. Anyway, when they came here, Billy James, the A&R man that signed them up at Columbia Records, he says, we can't give you any money, but we can give you instruments. So go to La Valley, it's off of Sepulveda, and you can have whatever you want. But of course, Robbie, he hated Vox. He said their speakers were terrible. But for Ray, man, that was like heaven, because he said that he was always salivating when he'd see Ellen Price playing that beautiful Vox Continental red and black organ with a 2 chrome Z-shaped legs. Well, in the book Light My Fire, Ray Manzarek mentions how they pulled up into this dock. They loaded up all their equipment. Ray and Jim, they got 2 royalty amps, and then of course he didn't want a Vox guitar, Robbie, because he said they were terrible, even though it was like what Brian Jones played. But they said that he got a guitar here like that looked like his Gibson guitar. And of course there was nothing for their drummer. And so they came here, the Fledgling Doors, with Dorothy, Jim, Ray, like I said, Robbie, and John. And they loaded up here, and they said that Jim, he jumped off that dock onto the top of the Volkswagen, and he said, now we're ready for some gigs. Of course, all they got was the London Fog, you know. But anyway, this is where they got their instruments. This was a showroom, they said, and this is where it all happened, on this street. Like I said, the infamous Charlie Manson. This is where he recorded his demos that would come out later on in that album, put out by his friend Phil Kaufman, who he met at Terminal Island prison and over there in Long Beach. Okay, well, if these streets could talk, if these walls could talk, all the talent that graced those walls there. And that, you know, because of the acoustics of the drums, they said that they never painted that and never changed the linoleum for fear that it would goof up the whole sound. So like I said, they got the most perfect drum acoustics in the world in that place. Okay, thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.